Yeah, green check marks.
Green check marks across the board. How you doing this morning, John?
Oh, a little under the weather, but how about you, Craig?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great. At least it's a beautiful day out, not too cold.
Indeed. I been outside just a little bit. It seems nice. You got any new AI news for us this week?
Well, apparently OpenAI released a model by accident, and so maybe we can talk about that another time. But yeah, they released some model that people were exploiting and using it to come up with drug recipes. So already people were exploiting it. So I don't know what's going on with that one, but really cool stuff.
Yeah, that was we're using 01 preview right now, so they for a few hours had the full 01 out there.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But yeah, we got lots to talk about today. How was your week?
My week was good. Very productive. Like, some of these new tools I'm using with AI and stuff are just amazing.
Yeah.
And as I start adding more stuff to my workflow every day, I'm just getting more and more productive.
That's awesome. Yeah, AI is really, if you're leveraging it properly, there's a lot that you can do to be more productive and work smarter.
All right, let me get this one up there. Share the screen. So the camera's right in front of my face, so I'm moving around here a bit. So Amazon and Meta have had some good news recently around, hey, we're going to do these mobile reactors, and we're going to maybe that's better without it. Sorry, let me start again. It's because my face is so dark here. So Amazon and Meta recently have been doing released information about they've created contracts for mobile nuclear reactors to power their AI plants. And that sounds great. And we talked about that. In fact, I think that podcast came out today, Friday, November 6th, talking about their ambitions on that. But now the regulators have decided, no. What's going on here, John?
Well, regulators on one side and bees on another. Yeah, I know bees, right? So, well, yeah, I guess so. Back to regulators as well. But so they're pursuing nuclear as a solution. So Amazon's plan to build a hyperscale data center near the Susquehanna nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania has been kind of kiboshed for now because the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, I can't remember, voted 2-1 to deny the expansion of an existing data center power agreement. The reason being, and it makes sense though, their concerns are that Amazon's direct connection to the power plant could potentially lead to lower reliability and higher costs for other customers in the region. So I guess Amazon's plan was just to tap in directly to the nuclear power plant, which I think is different maybe than the backyard nukes, the trailer nukes. I'm not sure. But the funny one, which is kind of, I like the fact that they're not just plowing over this, but Meta's AI data center project, which was planned to be built adjacent to an operational nuclear power plant, encountered a really unexpected hurdle. In an all-hands meeting, Mark Zuckerberg revealed that the discovery of a rare bee species on the proposed site has become a significant regulatory challenge. So, 2 regulatory hurdles for 2 big companies. The one with Amazon, I understand that. Like, if they're not planning on adding an expansion to output power and they're just trying to tap directly in, yeah, that makes sense that would be put on hold. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I would think. But I mean, I didn't know, we were talking about this was never going to happen before. Corporations aren't going to have access to nuclear power plants, and all of a sudden it is happening. And now we're saying, whoa, wait. So I'm not all that surprised. Whoa, wait. I'm kind of surprised that, we had that middle thing, like, let's all roll out nukes. Now, did they mention Microsoft in this article?
I don't think so, but I think Microsoft is taking obviously a
A
different
different
approach.
approach. Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
curious. Microsoft is tapping the 3 Mile Island project for
that is
their
defunct,
nuclear
right?
there. Yeah.
It's defunct. It's not being used. Whereas these two are already being used. So Microsoft, I think, so far is taking the smarter approach. It might take them, um, like it seems like Microsoft might be the tortoise in this, whereas Meta and Amazon are trying to be the hares. In the tortoise versus hare, I don't know if people still know that analogy, but nowadays everything's getting lost. But um, yeah, I'm not sure. It would be nice to get an update on what's going on with Microsoft. I'll have to have a look and do that. But no, nothing was mentioned except that um, the they compared it to Microsoft's Three Island project, indicate that the path to nuclear power plant centers may vary depending on specific circumstances. That's the only thing they kind of alluded to, but that's it.
Yeah, Amazon and Meta wanted to build their own nuclear reactors. Yeah, nuclear reactors like powering submarines or entire cities just for their AI factories. But regulators just hit the brakes hard, saying not so fast, tech giants. So
Yeah.
let's dive into what's happening here. And is there a future for corporate nuclear power? Why would Amazon and Meta even consider nuclear power? Thinking about those massive data centers running nonstop, chugging, and the
Yeah.
power deficit from AI is like, it's a endless power buffet. For those AI running all those chip data centers were something before, but now they're something completely different from how much power they consume. Nuclear could offer a steady low carbon energy source, ideal for companies vowing to go green but
Yeah.
needing enormous power on demand. But, nuclear energy has always been, complicated.
Yeah. It's complicated and highly regulated. And yeah, but you would think so. I can see Microsoft's approach, I feel, is smarter because they could actually make money off of it by selling power back to the grid if they so wanted to, right? Whereas Amazon and Meta, well, at least Amazon is looking to tap into an existing nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
So I feel Microsoft, even though Microsoft, who knows? I definitely have to get an update on what Microsoft's doing, but it could be slow, obviously. And things are probably working in the background, and they'll make an announcement when they have something to announce. But yeah, I think if these guys were smart, they would. I'm speaking about this because I'm not even a nuclear physicist, right? And I'm saying, oh yeah, if you're smart, you're going to build your own nuclear power plant so that you can sell it back. But easier said than done, right?
Yeah, nuclear in tech isn't a new idea. So they would have, you figured they would have addressed this a while ago, but who knows? Companies like Google have flirted with it before, exploring some modular nuclear reactors and uranium projects. We know we've infamously, Bill Gates is a pro nuclear and is trying to build nuclear plants all over the world.
Yeah,
But it's a dream,
yeah,
run their high hungry energy operations without relying on fossil fuels. Also, it's probably in the end going to cost them less than, what they cost them for paying the local, not telco, the local power utility.
yeah,
But the reality in all this is regulator red tape that could wrap, a whole football field around this. It's
for
not
sure,
just
Chris.
about
Yeah,
ticking a few boxes when it comes to nuclear energy. Governments want detailed safety plans, environmental assessments, compliance with strict standards. With detailed safety plans, like I mentioned, getting a reactor off the ground is like trying to clear airport security with a tank full of plutonium. So I'm surprised they went this way. A
yeah,
surprising twist: global nuclear power is seen as a potential climate hero because of its low carbon. We've had the discussion, but here in
yeah,
North America, not everyone is cheering. Public opinion, probably because of the history around 3 Mile Island and whatnot, safety concerns and activists ready to protest anything nuclear. And, you know, the short election cycle means that we could start something, spend billions of dollars on it now, and then someone else gets elected 4 years from now and cut it down. And building a nuclear reactor can take up to 25 years. So, you know, you have to go through a lot of those cycles to make that happen.
Sure. Yeah. But at the same time, like we had the oh my god, Chernobyl too, right? But and I was, before you and I started talking about this, I was against nuclear because of what I thought there was going to be a lot of nuclear waste, and you corrected me on that. And I think maybe that's what they need to do, is they need to undertake a marketing campaign to show people that no, that there's not going to be these huge landfills or sites with excess nuclear waste anymore. It's going to be eaten up, and it is it seems to, I was against it, right, because of the nuclear waste. But if there's going to be zero or very little nuclear waste, then I think this is the best option for now until we get to fusion.
Absolutely. Again, I haven't taken a deep dive into fusion. You're the fusion expert of the two of us. I will have to do some more analysis, but we're going to talk a little bit about fusion in a few minutes. So if Amazon and Meta went nuclear, we could see a ripple effect. Imagine energy savings from these tech giants trickling down into services, maybe even cheaper cloud storage. Fingers crossed. And if they hit their sustainability targets, that's fewer emissions impacting our environment. But now it looks like they're going to have to pivot to wind and solar, and nuclear is going to have to wait for maybe another decade.
I don't know. Who knows? But like, I guess, I don't know. I see this as a positive, but I can see why people would see this as a negative. With tech companies having, just like Tesla with their batteries, right? I think we covered this. We might have talked about this. They own a lot of the power that's being put onto the grid. And so I could see why they're like the regulatory commissions are having hesitations, right? What do you do when these private companies, we're getting into these dystopian future type scenarios now with these companies. No joke. Like this is where we're headed.
Well, just look at a couple of the articles we have upcoming, and that's a fact. So I'll keep going here. So what does the future hold? Tech companies may start pooling resources for renewable energy projects. Think mega solar farms. We've talked about that. You're talking about what Elon Musk is doing, and next gen battery storage. We've talked about in the past the new solar technologies that is massively more efficient, gets up to 96% efficiency. We've talked about beaming solar light from space, and we talked about beaming power from space. So these are obviously renewable energy types. And who knows, with advancements in hydrogen that we talk about, in fusion tech that we're going to talk about, the race for green energy might be getting more interesting.
Yeah. So
we'd love to hear what you guys think out there, for sure. Should big tech companies keep pushing for nuclear energy despite the challenges, or is it time to focus on renewables? Drop us a comment with your thoughts or predictions.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I want people to fact check us. So if we're wrong on anything, please let us know, because we try to be as accurate as possible. And I know someone fact checked us once, and that was great. I loved it.
You never read the comments. People are brutal sometimes. That's all right. Sometimes we get a lot of support, but sometimes it's brutal. But that's okay. It is what it is. We want to hear back.
Yeah, interact. Yeah.
And let me just jump to this next one here. There's my windows. Speaking of Amazon. So apparently Alexa's AI brain is stuck in a lab.
Yeah, this is weird to me, because they were first out of the gate with, were they before Siri? Well, they were. So, anyways, they
definitely won the home voice market.
Yeah. So you would think that they would still be ahead or at least in the race. And right now they're being lapped. So what happened here is they're trying to upgrade Alexa with an advanced AI capability, and they're facing challenges. I don't know what those challenges are, but they're it's currently stuck in the development phase. So in the summer of 2023, Andy Jassy, the CEO of Amazon, he personally tested the prototype of AI's enhanced Alexa, focusing on its abilities to handle complex sports-related queries. So while the prototype, it seems like it demonstrated some improvements, it still fell short of his, and they're saying he has lofty expectations, but who knows? So, for instance, when asked about a recent game outcome, Alexa actually fabricated a score, highlighting the ongoing issues with accuracy and reliability. So, rightfully so. So they're having a lot of difficulties. There's a lot of competitive pressure. The prolonged development phase likely is going to require significant investment in terms of time, money. So I think what they've been doing is kind of just, I could be wrong. I'm making an assumption here, but maybe they are just they're not investing as much as they should into this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does definitely make sense. Is Amazon Alexa really losing its edge with ChatGPT and Google Assistant now sprinting ahead? Because Google was so far behind when the home unit, when these things first started. It feels like Alexa has been benched. But why is the once mighty Alexa AI still stuck in the lab while others are, out playing the game? So let's break this down. The picture when Alexa debuted in 2014, it was like inviting a clever, obedient assistant in your living room. It could play music, order groceries, even tell corny jokes.
Yeah.
But now we're in 2024 and users want more than basic commands. Think about it. We talk to AI all the time now, expecting smart responses that understand nuance, tone, and context. Each enter ChatGPT with many of for its ability to hold conversation with complex questions. Unlike Alexa, it doesn't just follow instructions; it converses. Like you've played with ChatGPT voice, and a lot of people have.
Yeah. And that's the thing is it was Alexa was great when it first came out. It was great to kind of do various tasks and things, and kids were using it to order stuff off Amazon, which was funny. But yeah, it's way too far behind. And I think they're the ones that initially kind of solved the NLP, natural language processing kind of issue on a large scale. I don't know. Like I know there was Dragon actually speaking, but I don't think that ever came close to what they were able to do with Alexa.
Definitely, I think Alexa was a lot ahead. I think, they have two different functionalities. I think some of the Dragon speech was better for long-term data input because you knew a lot of people who, just talk to it, and it would create like 10-page documents from their conversation rather than what Alexa can handle, the snippets.
Yeah.
So apparently Alexa can't keep up because it has a language problem. It gets it's great with straightforward commands like turn on the lights, but it throw in an idiom or ask it multi-layered questions, and it's suddenly scratching its digital head. Imagine asking your friend, could you make it feel like Christmas in here? Alexa would probably just respond, I don't know that. ChatGPT, on the other hand, might tell you to set the mood or suggest some holiday classics to play or something like that.
Yeah, who knows? They definitely have to work on the accuracy. It's funny, and it under like the problem that they're having is the same problem that these LLMs are having with hallucinations. They're generating fake data. They're generating fake links, fake resources. And again, I'm going to repeat this because this is what I'm worried about: is that data that's being generated is going to be used to retrain these LLMs, and that worries me.
Yeah, and wonder where things like the strawberry model come in, where it's using synthetic data. versus real data. But yeah, the AI start training themselves, and we talked about this before. It becomes collapse, and hallucinations are real thing. It hallucinates for me all the time. It's getting better, but it hallucinates for me all the time. Where we'll be talking about, we'll be planning an event. I'll be getting a description, like, here's my description, make it better. And then it throws in speakers, dates, things that, like, a bunch of stuff that just don't exist. It just makes it up. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Did you ask it why it did it?
Not at that point in time, but I do now.
Yeah.
But it usually just apologizes.
Yeah, it just apologizes. Yeah.
So, and I'm like, stop apologizing. We have this thing where you produce something that was not what I wanted you to do. Let's figure out how we could be more clear together. If you don't understand or I'm unclear, you need to prompt me more. I need to, tell me how I can give you better information. That's usually the conversations I have.
Yeah, that just brings up this prompt that I shared with you this morning, or a sentence to add at the end of your prompt. And for those who use for those who use prompts, this is great. So what you do is you say, ask me clarifying questions until you're 95% sure of your answer. And what it does is it will ask you some really interesting questions. Some you might not be able to answer, to be honest with you, but it will reduce the number of back and forth that you're going to have to do with it. And at the end, it gives you a much better output.
Yeah, I'm going to have to definitely try that one.
Yeah. The other one too, did you know? I know we're kind of digressing, but have you used the temperature between 1 and 10?
I use a temperature usually at 0.7.
Oh, so you do use the temperature input or prompt.
Yep. Well, cool. I use it for certain things. I definitely use it when I'm calling APIs. It's a thing you can do. I don't use it every time with my prompts.
Okay. I didn't think about using it for calling APIs. That's cool.
Well, I've been doing a lot of that lately. So you can control temperature and a bunch of other stuff when you call it. So.
Okay. Interesting.
So here's the kicker. Amazon has been trying to bring Alexa up to speed with features like Alexa Conversations, which was supposed to help it better understand context. But these upgrades, while impressive on paper, just haven't been any game changers. Competitors like Google Assistant and even Siri have benefited from years of linguistic training and contextual improvements. Backed by Google and Apple with their rich data troves. With every update, Amazon's Assistant gets a bit better, but these improvements are barely noticeable to the average user, and the AI race is brutal. And if you're not keeping up, you're getting left behind. It looks like Amazon's getting left behind.
Yeah, it does. It does look like Amazon, and even like Google. I know they're Gemini, but like we haven't heard much about Gemini, have we? Like we've heard a lot about Perplexity, we've heard a lot about OpenAI, we've heard a lot about Claude, but not much about
there's a lot of Google models out there, Gemini, and there's a bunch of others, but I think they learned their lesson around let's not make a big noise, because they got beaten down pretty good with the first couple of releases. Hey, look how good we are.
Yeah. But I will say there is a lot of talk around their Notebook LM, which is really cool.
It is cool, but it's very limited.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I definitely will continue to use it. I'll continue to use it in some of my workflows for personal education and whatnot. I will probably use it to add audio files to websites that are complicated topics and whatnot. So there's a lot of things you can do there.
Yeah.
So some insiders say that Amazon has been hesitant to take big leaps with Alexa because it's tied so heavily to Amazon's other services, which makes drastic updates risky. Alexa's job isn't just to be smart; it also prime product pusher, as you say, getting everything to order. Hey, will you order this or add this to my invoice? And nudging you to buy things through its voice if it looks like you're short or you're asking around stuff. The split focus may be what's slowing Alexas down.
Potentially, but I would think that it wouldn't be too difficult to integrate that into their new AI functionality. No, or am I wrong?
Well, it says it's hinted that it's working on new voice recognition features and NLP, and that I've seen some stuff around, like it's trying to bridge the gap between rivals like ChatGPT, but I've seen stuff around where they're trying to make a deal with OpenAI right now to connect Alexa to ChatGPT. So, but there's some issues around. Pardon?
That's what Apple did.
Yeah, and I think they're dumping this. So the big question is, do you think Alexa will catch up, or is it time to pass the mic to ChatGPT and just connect ChatGPT to it and let's go? Is this a story of slow and steady comeback, or too little, too late? What do you think?
I don't know. It's tough to see. I think to be honest, I think they're too little, too late. But who knows? Maybe they got a trick up their sleeve. Who knows? But we'll have to see.
Indeed, we'd love to hear what you have to think about what you think about the future of AI bots and what this means, and
Absolutely.
the AI models and who's going to leapfrog who. Drop us a comment, and we'd love to hear back from you.
Absolutely.
All right, let me jump to this next one here.
Yeah,
so, cool. Textbooks have always been boring.
Yeah.
And now I think we're gonna change some of that. So let me jump into it here. Let me jump into it here. Today's story we're diving into is on the fascinating intersection of AI and education. The concept interactive textbooks powered by AI. Textbooks that don't just deliver content, but actually engage and involve the learner. Imagine your math book could pick up on your strengths and weaknesses, then adjust its problems to suit your level or offer you a hint in the right direction when you need it. This is the difference between choose your own adventure and choose your own algebra problem, where every step is tailored to you. But this isn't just about gamifying your study session. It's about creating a whole new learning experience that's personal, accessible, and yes, a little bit futuristic.
I wish I had this in school, and I'm sure you would say the same thing with ADHD. I probably would have pursued a career in physics if I had something like this.
I mean, this is amazing. Like the concepts here are amazing, and the fact that now ADHD and people who learn or are learning divergent, I guess is what you call it when you have different learning, your audio learner, your visual learner, your spatial learner, your this or that. And being able to pick up on those things and having different approaches, because a great teacher can do that, but an average teacher doesn't. Or below, a good teacher maybe, but an average and below doesn't. So they just teach. They do, this is what you're learning. They won't like, okay, Johnny, you need this and this and this. So I'm going to, give the next lesson in this format in this way. So we're making sure that you understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's cool. They're calling it augmented physics, which is really cool. So I like this. I like the fact that, so this is just, this is kind of the next step, and I think this is where there's going to be an aid in adopting AR glasses, because this is exactly what these could be used for. Is you're wearing your AR glasses and you're reading your textbook, and there you go. Yeah, look at this. So you could adjust different parameters. You can adjust different formulas and different things like that. Like, that is super cool. Honestly, I would play around with one of these books just to get a refresher on some of the physics formulas and things like that.
Well, this looks like what Apple Books should have been when it came out, when it tried to do all this interactive stuff, but really didn't, So what makes AI textbook so special? If you're watching, you're seeing some of what's happening here, but if not, they're interactive. Forget static chapters. They're rich with quizzes, videos, even simulations. Picture learning physics, not just by reading about gravity, but dropping a virtual bowling ball on a planet of your choice. That's not just science. It's science, sci-fi education. So it's, you start applying these things. And, I'm a big believer of, as long as they're reading, when people were playing D&D or reading fantasy books or whatever, when you're back and, younger, the same with my kids, got them into reading with Harry Potter, whenever. The point is, as long as they're reading, they're learning. And same thing was, now it's more than just reading, right? Now your education can take in a whole different level. So the best part is AI can personalize the journey for everyone. Now, this is my favorite bit, right? Let's say you're breezing through English, but struggling with calculus. Your AI textbook can spend more time with calculus, adjusting questions and pace, maybe even throwing in some gamified elements to keep you engaged. It's like having a tutor embedded in every chapter. And I wish I had this for my kids too, growing up, so that, we could work interactively together.
Yeah. But this all comes back down to the education system itself, and I'm gonna get into some controversy here, controversial theories that Rockefeller invented school for just to get workers, right? And it's not conducive to leaders. But
and textbooks business has always been a big scam, because they'll come up with a new edition and that has minor changes. Like a new history book. History hasn't changed, but we've changed the book a little bit, enough that the professor wrote a new book, changed a couple of paragraphs, and now you have to go spend another $200 buying it. And you can't give it to the next person, because the next year will be a different version, which is part of this thing. So some universities, though, are already testing this. At Georgia State, for example, students are using interactive textbooks, have shown better retention and engagement. Over at UC Berkeley, students have reportedly feeling like they get complex concepts faster, thanks to simulations and embedded quizzes. This isn't just a gimmick. It seems to be changing how people learn.
For sure. It would definitely change how I learn. Absolutely. This is a game changer. Absolutely. I'm excited for this.
Studies show that students retained up to 25% more information with these tools. So it's not like an extra shot. So it's like an extra shot of coffee, but for your brain, which I think my shot of coffee is for anyway. But who knew a tech could be energizing as caffeine? So, of course, it's not all smooth sailing. Not every classroom is outfitted with high-tech learning. Not every state has the same budget. Not every classroom is outfitted with high-tech learning, and the cost can be a barrier. Plus, there is an issue of data privacy. These tools are collecting information on how students learn and monitoring what they're doing. So we need strong measures to keep that data safe. Imagine if your learning quirks were leaked online. No one wants their struggles with algebra going public, as an example, especially when you're a kid.
Yeah. That's cool. So the cool thing, the other integration part of this is like giving reports to parents. So parents stay on top of things and different things like that. So instead of parents expecting their child to share with them what they're struggling with and different things like that. So
looking ahead, we might even see fully immersive textbooks where AI uses real-time feedback to gauge comprehensive and engagement. Think VR meets personalized learning. Imagine walking through ancient Rome in your history textbook, or dissecting a digital frog in biology, all from your living room. We're talking about making virtual classrooms not just a term, but really a reality.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we should wrap this up. So AI-enhanced textbook could be the future of learning, giving students personalized journeys that keep them engaged. But here's the big question. Will this technology level the playing field or just widen the gap? Would you embrace classrooms where every lesson is tailored to you, or do you think old school textbooks are just fine? Let us know what you think. After all, the future of education might just be in your hands or your tablet.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump to this next one. Speaking of the future,
Yeah.
and
Not surprised. Not surprised that this is happening, but this is going to help reduce the cost of nuclear fusion technology once it's viable. So Princeton University researchers have achieved a breakthrough in nuclear fusion technology by successfully 3D printing critical components of a fusion reactor. So it's been detailed in the Journal of Nuclear Fusion, and it marks a major step in making fusion energy more accessible. Okay, so the what they did was they focused on creating complex stellarator components using 3D printing techniques. And we talked about what stellarators are, but essentially they are a type of fusion reactor that uses magnetic fields to combine the heat, plasma, and to temperatures that are hotter than the sun's core, to be honest. So that's how right now a lot of the reactors are built, is using that. So they successfully printed intricate magnetic coils and support structures, which is awesome, which are critical for maintaining the plasma's shape and stability within the reactor.
Yeah, you know more about this, so I'm sorry if I pause for a second.
No, no.
You know more than I do about
I can go into more
fusion.
detail.
Now,
Yeah.
imagine a future where we have virtually limitless energy, as easy to access as turning on a light switch, but without fossil fuel footprint. This isn't science fiction. It's the promise of 3D printed nuclear fusion reactors, which might just be the world's next energy breakthrough. And guess what? Princeton's 3D team is already on it. So nuclear fusion is the holy grail of clean energy. We've been taught, this has been talked about for a long time. It's what powers the sun, combining atomic nuclei to unleash massive energy. Unlike fission, where atoms are split, think explosions and radioactive waste, fusion uses hydrogen isotopes, which can be extracted from something as common as seawater. Theoretically, fusion could give us clean, sustainable energy without the long-lasting waste or safety concerns we see with nuclear fission.
Yeah. So for those of, like, I'm sure most people know this, but like you said, this isn't really science fiction. For those that don't know, the sun is essentially a huge fusion reactor. So it happens in nature. It's just a matter of how do we recreate that in a lab setting, right? So this is really cool. The cool thing about the 3D printing method is that what they've done is they've allowed the creation of highly complex geometries, obviously because of the 3D printing, which is typically impossible to manufacture using traditional techniques. So the cool thing about what they did was they printed the components with remarkable precision. And this is interesting. Deviations of less than 0.3 millimeters from the design specs. So that's interesting. It's really cool. We talked about 3D printing chairs, 3D printing a bunch of stuff and stuff, a lot of stuff in the past. So not surprising that they're going this route.
Yeah, I like the analogy that if nuclear fission is like splitting a huge stack of firewood and accidentally burning the whole forest, nuclear fusion is more like creating a cozy campfire that can keep us warm indefinitely. So the really cool part is this 3D printing connection that you were just talking about. The challenge in building fusion reactors lie in the incredible, precise, durable components needed to handle the extreme temperatures and pressures. So enter your process where you're talking about these things are extremely precise. They can get these precisions down. Traditional manufacturing methods are like trying to make perfect sandcastles with a bulldozer. Sometimes you need a sculptor's touch. That's exactly what those 3D printing tools you're talking about provides. The Princeton's latest project uses 3D printing to build reactor components that are not only customized, but also faster and cheaper to produce. This technology allows engineers to experiment with complex designs and reduce material waste, aligning perfectly with sustainable goals. And did you know that by reducing waste, 3D printing makes reactor building not only faster, but more eco-friendly. Traditional manufacturing methods can waste up to 60% of materials, but with 3D printing, that waste is cut down to nearly zero.
Exactly. Yeah. There's very little waste except for the support brackets, which is a lot less. And if they can get the accuracy even better, even more, like this is, yeah, like they're for those of you that don't know, they're 3D printing airplane components now. They're 3D printing a lot of like critical components that are helping to reduce weight, that are reducing the carbon footprint. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff they're doing now is insane. Like they're 3D printing genetics, DNA. So the stuff they're doing is, massive and, minuscule.
Yeah.
So why should we care about 3D printed fusion reactors? For starters, the technology could slash the time needed to build functional fusion plants. We were talking about how long it takes to build a nuclear plant and, what the regulations are around that, bring us closer to a worldwide where renewable endless energy is norm, not the exception. Imagine cities powered by fusion with no pollution or emission, clean energy at scale. And Princeton researchers test designs that improve plasma confinement. That's the tricky part, right? The keeps the fusion stable. They're getting us closer to reactors that could actually work outside the lab.
Yeah, well, they have, and we've covered this. They have successfully completed fusion reactions in a fusion reactor, just not enough to sustain it, and not enough where the output is greater than the input.
And that's what I said. They're getting close to reactors that could actually work outside the lab, where we're starting to get into production versus testing.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. For us, this could mean everything from lower electricity bills to fewer power outages and a massive reduction in greenhouse gases. Plus, it could make energy more accessible globally, meaning helping areas that will struggle with unreliable power and allowing us potentially to do a lot of things we wouldn't otherwise do.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a technology that could redefine how the world is powered, which is fantastic. But here's the big question. With the potential of fusion so close, are we ready for the societal shifts it might bring? Could this be the end of fossil fuels as we know it, or will we see a whole new set of challenges emerge as we make the transition? Let us know your thoughts. Could fusion energy change everything, or are we setting ourselves up for a bunch of new hurdles and, disappointment?
Yeah.
All right, let's jump to this next one, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah. Solar powered skin. So this one I didn't do too much of a deep dive into, but this is interesting because what they've achieved a development in cellular biology by creating a hybrid plant animal cell that can harness energy from sunlight. So photosynthesis, right? The research is a significant step forward in merging the energy producing capabilities of plants with animal cells. So what they did was they successfully inserted chloroplasts from red algae into cultured hamster cells. And these chloroplasts continued to perform photosynthesis for at least 2 days after insertion, which is the first reported instance of photosynthetic electron transport being detected in chloroplasts implanted in animal cells. Crazy. And so like they used a bunch of various techniques, including confocal microscopy and electron microscopy to perform the presence and functionality. But they also employed pulse amplitude modulation fluorometry to verify that the photosynthetic. So they not only successfully did it, but they successfully verified that it worked. So this is interesting and has a bunch of implications like tissue engineering, lab grown meat, sustainable energy, and enhanced cell growth, which is really cool.
Yeah, the technology is really interesting. I picture this: you're out on a sunny day, feeling the warmth on your skin. But what if that same sunlight could power your wearable tech or even track your health? Introducing the wild world of solar-powered skin. where biology and technology come together in a mashup that's part sci-fi and part reality. Is it revolutionary, or are we turning into walking solar panels?
Well, this is cool because what you could potentially do is have sustainable carbon neutral technologies in the future. So when we're talking about AI, and I don't think I think we did cover it with the brain chip on a brain, or brain on a chip. I can't remember. This could help that, I think. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a biologist, but just based on my understanding.
Solar powered skin, or as I like to call it, power up epidermis, is a new concept straight out of the biotech playbook. Think of it as skin that doesn't just protect you, but also works double time, converting sunlight to energy like a personal solar panel. But unlike your typical rooftop setup, this tech uses biometric materials, essentially copying nature's energy making magic. Similar how plants photosynthesize, as you mentioned. Remember that, folks. Next time you're enjoying the sun, you could be powering up just like the leaves on a tree. Now you can be powering your device, but what about, as we move forward, we were talking about sensors on the skin. We're talking about potentially powering pacemakers, or your earpieces, or whatever other things that you're wearing all day long, never mind other things. So here's where it gets really interesting. Science are blending biological materials with advanced solar cells, creating a hybrid that feels a bit like something Tony Stark might have thought up on a lazy Sunday. By mimicking photosynthesis, this solar skin can potentially fuel anything from prosthetics to real-time health monitoring devices. We're talking about a world where your artificial limb can not only move, but powers your smartwatch too.
Exactly. Yeah. This is really interesting. I'm sure we're not grasping the full implications of this, and the full.
Well, imagine this impact. Imagine the impact on healthcare. If your skin could track vitals like oxygen levels, hydration, power itself sustainably.
Oh, yeah.
They're both eco-friendly and efficient. It could mean a lot of areas like rural healthcare, where access to electricity can be limited. Suddenly, we're not just reducing battery waste, but we're talking about healthcare monitoring that doesn't rely on constant recharging. And here's a fun twist. This isn't just for medical tech. The cosmetic industry is watching this very closely, thinking, what if sunscreen didn't just protect your skin, but powered your devices too? Beauty tech that's both sustainable and functional could take off with solar skincare that's functional as it is glam.
Yeah.
But, things get complicated. What about privacy? With technology literally embedded in our skin, are we inching too close to a world of tracking every heartbeat, every step? Who owns the data, and how secure is it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's scary, but interesting, but really cool.
Yeah. Definitely. Really cool. Looking ahead, solar powered skin could spark an entire sector of renewable tech that's built into our clothing and our accessories. Imagine everything from solar powered hats to self-charging smart shoes. But as always, with great power literally comes great responsibility. Yeah. So, you've seen things like Claude's got their AI pin. Have Claude's got an AI pin that's just basically a recorder that records the stuff and goes back. We start seeing all these wearable AI devices everywhere. We start to think practical things here. So here's a big question. Do you think solar powered skin is a genius way to harness energy and monitor health, or is it too close to becoming cyborg chic for comfort? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Hit us up. All right, we got one more, and this one is just as bizarre.
Controversial, but this one's actually legit. Like, they're legit selling this, by the way. So a US-based startup called Genomic Prediction has been sparking controversy because they're offering a service that screens embryos for intelligence potential, which raises, I would say, significant ethical and scientific questions about the future of reproductive technology. But again, I'm not surprised, because like we're gene editing, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. So this makes sense, but again, controversial. So they're using a technique called polygenic risk scoring to analyze embryos created through vitro fertilization, not in vitro fertilization. So, through in vitro fertilization. And so it examines multiple genes associated with cognitive ability to predict an embryo's potential intelligence. So it can identify embryos likely to have an IQ of 25 points higher than average. So, what do you think about this?
Well, first of all, the US startup is genius for figuring out what this is, right? The embryo screening for IQ, if it actually works, the method to assess potential intelligence of embryo before implementation. But you can tell before you fertilize it whether it's an IQ or not, and decide. We're not talking about you have a baby or you have this or you're pregnant and you're trying to decide how the IQ. You're talking about at embryo form, like you're at the cellular level before you're impregnated, aren't we?
No, I think it's after impregnation.
Okay, there I see it. Yeah, sorry. It is after. My bad. So here's how it works. If the company uses a technique known as polygenic scoring, like you mentioned, essentially that analyzes thousands of genetic markers to correlate IQ, building a profile that estimates the cognitive potential of each embryo. Think of this as potential IQ scorecard, like you mentioned, for the future kids. So it's process that's been available for health related screenings, like for hereditary diseases, but the screening for cognitive traits, so that's uncharted and ethically murky. So I had it wrong there for a bit, so I'm glad you corrected me. So now we're talking about you're pregnant and we're going to test the IQ of your baby, and then you can decide what you want to do about that.
Yeah, so I'm worried about this for a bunch of different reasons. Like discrimination, and the biggest thing is parental pressure. And what I mean by that is that it might create undue pressure on parents to use genetic selection, which could potentially alter the parent-child relationship if you think about it, right? So it's crazy. There's a bunch of other things that need to be examined as well, like how reliable is this? What are the long-term effects of selecting embryos based on genetic predictions? So, there's a lot to explore, or there's a lot that still needs to be looked at.
Yeah, this is kind of like going through a grocery store, but instead of picking organic produce, you're picking baby's traits. Like, I'll have a high intelligence, maybe, little bit athletic, and a dash of musical talent. Seems like a dystopian novel for sure.
For sure. We talked about this. We talked about gene editing for specific traits, didn't we? Didn't we cover it in an episode?
Yeah, but gene editing is different than this.
Totally different than this. This is just a test.
Yeah, this kind of screening isn't an exact science. Intelligence is influenced by thousands of genetic factors and environmental conditions. So while the company can offer a score, it's more like a weather forecast than a precise prediction. Even if with its imperfections, the idea of choosing embryos based on IQ potential has massive implication. What does it mean for the future if wealthy families can afford to optimize their kids while others can't? Are we looking at a future where genetic inequality becomes a new kind of class divide? Some experts worry that this could create an even wider gap between rich and poor. After all, if you give your kid an intellectual edge, wouldn't you? If you could?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we're not just talking about raising smarter kids. We're getting into a territory of playing God. In fact, the kind of technology here raises serious ethical concerns. Many biochemists argue that traits like intelligence are too complex and valuable to reduce to a number on a report card. How do we even define intelligence? I mean, would Einstein pass this test?
Yeah. Who knows? He would probably, but there's obviously it's a startup, right? So they're gonna have a lot more work to do, and they're gonna hone this in. But yeah, who knows? Who knows where this goes? there's a lot of like regulatory things. So the thing that you might not know it, but right now the FDA does not currently regulate genetic tests for embryos, so it's unregulated right now.
So they can do whatever they want.
That's crazy.
Looking ahead, if genetic screening for traits like intelligence becomes mainstream, we're talking about a society where the concept of designer baby isn't just theoretical. Picture a world where everyone has a perfect cognitive profile. Would that make us a society of hyper intelligent individuals, or would it make us even more pressure on kids to live up to their next genetic potential?
Exactly.
And the implications that don't stop there. In the future, this kind of selection could expand to other areas like athletics, artistics, or even temperament. Imagine trying to create the next great concert pianist or Olympic athlete from scratch. It's like making a Build-A-Bear, but for humans.
Exactly. That's what it's going to be. I'm sorry, but like this is where technology is taking us, and it might run into some regulatory hurdles. But I think eventually it's going to happen, even if it's underground. And in some movies they have depicted it as kind of an underground kind of thing. But there's like this is going to happen. I'm sorry, and maybe that's my opinion, but that's what I think.
I think you're right. While the science and tech behind embryo IQ screening are fascinating, the ethical questions are enormous. We're left wondering, should we have the power to pick and choose our children's traits? Is this a brave new world or a slippery scope? If the US or Canada says we're not going to do it, but people can go to Mexico and do it, or other countries are doing it.
Yeah.
Does that change the ethics? And like you said, it's kind of like inevitable at this point. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Would you use tech to influence your child's future traits, or do you think we're opening a door that we can never close? Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear back from you.
Yeah.
So all these articles, what we talked about, there's articles available on Toronto Starts with deep dives on that. So check it out wherever this podcast is. And what do you got going on, John?
Well, next week we've got Startup Drinks, I think, right, Craig?
We got Startup Investor Drinks on November 14th, and then we have an In the Know event with Automate or Die, I think, on the 19th.
Yeah, 19th, yeah.
So if you're looking to automate your business and understand the impact, check that out, AI and automation, and there's a couple other topics. I just know that's the one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure. Yeah, you and I will be possibly presenting. So if you want to get some insights, if you want to talk with some great leaders and interesting people, come on out. Especially Investor Drinks. So for those that don't know, Investor Drinks, with the cost of your ticket, you can pitch. So you can pitch your idea, you can pitch yourself, you can pitch your startup, your company, whatever your service is. That's all included. You get wine and pizza, and it's great. I love the event.
That's a good point. I like to mention startupdrinksto.com for tickets, but a lot of people are talking about purpose-driven networking and, connecting with the right people and, going networking, with a purpose and whatnot. And, I've had a few comments on Startup Investor Drink saying, oh, that's great, you're going to go pitch, but it's literally open mic. You don't have to pitch your startup. You can say, I'm working on this. You can say, I'm a developer. Say, I'm looking for this. I'm talking to that. I'm doing this. I'm looking to talk to these people. This is the definition of purpose-driven networking, where we give you a chance for 20 seconds to come stand up in front of the whole crowd and tell them who you are and what you're doing or what you're looking for or why you're there and who you want to talk to. So you talk to everybody at once. So the handful of people can come and talk to you. And you're really, rather than we got 100 people in the room, give or take sometimes, smaller other times, but, going around one-on-one, talking to everybody, you end up only talking to a handful of people just because of the length of those conversations. Now you can make that a handful of people your really targeted people who are really interested, whether it's customers you're looking for, business partners, even a job, you're looking for new ideas or talking to other entrepreneurs. I'm here. I'm looking at incubators and accelerators in Toronto. I would love to talk to anybody who's had good and bad experience. Come talk to me. Perfect. You're right there. So take advantage of those things because other people don't. And, it's just another way of enjoying the event.
Absolutely.
And if people want government funding, where do they go?
Come find me on LinkedIn, John Irwin. Happy to chat. Happy to answer any questions you might have, and anything startup related to your business. Talk to Craig, the startup coach. Where can they go, Craig?
Go to startupcoach.ca or torontostarts.com. It all ends up in the same place where we've got all our events, all our podcasts. Silicon Scoop's not the only one we do. We do Startup Talk. Who are these startups? Future Tech, and a bunch of other stuff. So go check all that out there. We got new content every day, multiple times a day. There's so much stuff. Go check it out at torontostarts.com. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.